Week 16 NFL Sunday best bets. In this video, I'm going to break down my favorite pick against the spread, my favorite total, and my two favorite player props for Week 16 NFL action with plenty of analysis. Now, I'm recording this during halftime of the Texans versus the Chiefs game where we took Joe Mixon over 59 and a half rushing yards. At half, he's got 37. Joe Mixon, we need 23 more. Don't ruin our early Christmas present. Let's see if Joe Mixon can get over this. And if you've been enjoying these video breakdowns, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comment section below what you think of my picks for Week 16, as well as what you're on. I'll be sure to answer all of them, just like I always do. Just a quick reminder, it's the perfect time to download BetMGM and use promo code JustGridiron for a first bet offer up to $1,500. Deposit at least $10, and if you lose your first wager on BetMGM after using code JustGridiron, you'll get it all back up to $1,500 in bonus bets. BetMGM also continues its 7 days of parlays with plenty of odds boost tokens through December 23rd, so you can turn a minus EV parlay into a positive EV parlay. However, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Just like we normally do, we'll go in chronological order, starting with the 1 p.m., 4 p.m., then the Sunday Night Football picks. But unfortunately, I don't have a Sunday Night Football pick for you in this video. I might end up adding one or just generally add to my card for the 1 p.m. or 4 p.m. slate. So make sure that you're following me on Twitter. And I'm excited to get into these plays, even though my background is a little bit makeshift. You know, I'm traveling for the holidays. It is what it is. But let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. Nobody wants anything to do with the Titans, and for good reason. They're 2-12 against the spread this season. They found unique ways to lose by multiple possessions, but if they fail to cover this game, they'll tie history. Let me explain. 4 teams have gone 2-12 ATS through their first 14 games of the season. The 2016 Browns, who actually ended up covering their next game. The 1987 Bengals, who also covered their next game. But the one team that fell to 2-13 against the spread was the 2007 Ravens. Say whatever you want about the Titans, but the NFL market is efficient. Outliers like these rarely happen, and in a divisional game against an opponent who is just basically eliminated from playoff contention, now is the time, I think, to jump on the dumpster fire that is the 2024 Tennessee Titans. Because I don't think the market has come to grips with how bad Anthony Richardson is, the quarterback of the Colts. Anthony Richardson has completed under 50% of his passes this season, which is over 11% lower than his expected completion percentage and is more than 10% lower than Cooper Rush's completion percentage, which is the second worst in the league. Only 2 qualified quarterbacks have ever had a season where they completed below 50% of their passes. Tim Tebow and Akili Smith, who played 4 seasons with the Bengals from 1999 to 2003. I never even really heard of him. So that's a great name if you're with your boys and you're kind of shouting out random football names. Remember that one. In 10 games this season with Anthony Richardson, he's thrown 7 touchdowns with 11 interceptions. Now, Kirk Cousins leads the NFL with 16 interceptions. But Anthony Richardson has the highest interception rate in the NFL. Among 34 qualified quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson is 34th in EPA plus completion percentage over expectation. He is the worst quarterback in football this year, worse than Deshaun Watson and worse than Cooper Rush. Now, Richardson, he likes to hunt for the big play, right? Evidenced by his 12 and a half average air yards, attempted per pass. Highest in the league, 3 yards higher than Trevor Lawrence's, which ranks second. He's continually hunting for the deep shots, but despite this, he hasn't executed on them. Completed just 25% of 20-plus yards downfield. He also lead the league in bad throw percentage. His favorite deep target, Alec Pierce, out for this game with a concussion. Now, I wasn't going to back the Titans if Will Levis was going to start. I refuse. He's terrible. He's 30th out of those 34 qualified quarterbacks in EPA plus completion percentage over expectation. I could go on about how bad Will Levis is. He ranks in the bottom 5 of about every QB stat that there is. And when you watch Will Levis, like, nobody needs me to tell you that Levis is bad. Right? To give you one, though, just for fun, Levis ranks 3rd to last in passing success rate, ahead of only Deshaun Watson and Anthony Richardson. But it's not Will Levis. It's Mason Rudolph, who's played in 5 games this year, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, QBR of about 53.5, EPA plus completion percentage over expectation. That ranks 22nd out of 42 quarterbacks with at least 150 plays. Puts him in company of quarterbacks like Drake May, Aaron Rodgers, Bo Nix. Massive step up from Will Levis. It's not great, but it's way better than Levis. Rudolph is also coming off a pretty good game. Last Sunday against the Bengals, completed 80% of his passes, threw for 2 touchdowns and interception after replacing Levis, who threw 3 picks in the first half. The Colts defense is rounding into form, so I will give them credit. They put up a lot of solid performances lately, but over the entire season, they rank 11th in terms of EPA per play on defense. It's pretty good. Titans rank 19th, so not much worse, but the strength of the Titans defense is their run game. They rank 7th in yards per carry allowed at just 4.1. If they can make Jonathan Taylor's life just a little bit tricky, it'll be kind of on Richardson to make these throws, and I just don't think he's good enough to do it to win by more than a field goal. Home divisional favorites are 10 and 15 against the spread this season, and historically, 45% hit rate. The Colts technically aren't eliminated from contention just yet, but if they win this game, they have an 11% chance of making it. But I think that loss took the wind out of their sails, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the Titans win outright. I don't mind a little bit of sprinkle, but I'm taking the Titans plus 3.5 at a good price of minus 105 to win 1 unit. Let's get to our next play, and it's a fun one, but it's going to be tough to press, which is the sign of a good over when it's uncomfortable to press the button. The Giants' offense is atrocious, and the Falcons are starting a rookie quarterback. The Giants have put up 20 points just once in the last 5 weeks, and the Falcons are coming off a 15-9 win against the Raiders. But I was initially drawn to this game just of the allure of Michael Penix. I was enamored with him at Washington. I felt like I was alone on an island when the Falcons picked him, and I was like, I like it. I realized it didn't make a ton of sense because, of course, they had just given Kirk Cousins a ton of money. But I think the Falcons will be thanking themselves that they did because Kirk Cousins just can't move anymore. When you watch Falcons game this year, I feel like he needs 5 seconds in a clean pocket to move the ball effectively. In all the numbers I look at for quarterbacks, he's anywhere between the 18 to 24 range. However, the Falcons offense as a whole ranks 15th in EPA per play because they have great weapons, right? Darnell Mooney, Drake London have been great. Kyle Pitts, solid tight end. They have a great running back room with an average offensive line. With a good quarterback, this team can be really dangerous. That's why the Falcons at the beginning of the season had a projected 9.5 win total. Because even I love Michael Penix. I didn't think Kirk Cousins was broken. But do they have the quarterback now in Michael Penix in order to unlock all of the weapons that they have at their disposal? We're taking a leap here. But here's the thing. I've always loved him because I thought he was deathly accurate and makes really good decisions. Again, with multiple weapons at his disposal, I think if he plays a good game against this bad of a defense, and we'll explain later, they have a path to 30 points here, but they should be in the high 20s because the Giants' offense is not, or defense is not only terrible, but it's injured. Brian Burns, questionable. His backup is out. Bobby Okereke is out as well. Deontay Banks is questionable. Dexter Lawrence is still out. He's on the IR. And the Giants this season, they rank 28th in EPA per play, 24th against the run, 29th against the pass. Since the midway point of the season, they rank 31st out of 32 defenses in terms of EPA. It just doesn't get much worse. And I can't think of a better spot to play a rookie. Playing at home, I feel like it actually could make a young guy like Michael Penix, I doubt you'd get nervous, but I assume might be more nerves at home than even on the road. Letting him go, comfortable spot, against a terrible defense with little to no crowd noise because Giants fans want the ownership to just be sent to the moon. Interestingly, they decided to go with him now, with the division still in sight. They feel good about him, and I feel good about him. I'm very excited to watch Michael Penix play on Sunday. So why not just lay the points with the Falcons? You can. I actually think it has a good chance of hitting, but I just don't think I trust the Falcons defense here. And I know it's the Giants, but the Falcons, they're ranked 22nd in EPA per play on defense, 18th since the midway point. And I know the Giants are terrible, but the offense is actually the strong point of their team because their defense is so bad, right? They aren't good, but they're in the same bucket of EPA as like the Texans and the Seahawks since the season started. Again, we fade those offenses, but the Giants are the worst offense in the league. Drew Lock is going to start, and he's kind of the only Giants quarterback I feel good and moderately trusting. He put up 20 against the Cowboys, solid, and then he was shut out for 11 points against the Saints, but he wants to sling it. That's what I like when taking it over. It'll either land in a receiver, go incomplete to stop the clock, or just get intercepted, and maybe we'll get lucky with some good field position. Right? With a total at 43, we don't really need the Giants to just light up the scoreboard here. But can they get to 17 points? I think that's attainable against the Falcons defense. Falcons are actually worse against the pass than the Cowboys are by dropback EPA. And if Drew Lock is somewhat competent, they should be able to put enough drives together to be in the 17 to 20 point range, We also have a system on the over, which we almost never have. Finding profitable systems on the over is just really, really tough. This one is a 56% hit rate. It's called no wind, low total, non-division overs. It says to take the over when the total is between 30 and 44, there's less than 5 miles an hour of wind, and it's not a divisional game. That system, 360, 279, and 12. It's a 56% hit rate, which again, hard to find systems on overs. But I think this total should be at least at the key number of 44. I think 27 to 17 is a pretty likely score here. If you like the Giants, maybe they get up to 20, 24 to 20. That's a 44. So I took the over 43 at minus 110 between the Giants and the Falcons to win 1 unit. We have one more pick in the 1 p.m. slate, and this one again might be a little uncomfortable to take, but I really like it, and it's backed by a lot of historical trends. Let's talk about T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. We're actually going to look to fade him in this matchup in a specific way, right? T. Higgins, really talented wide receiver. He's awesome. We all know this. But in his last matchup against the Browns, and really just in general, not much success here. And the Browns are in a free fall. Bengals being enormous favorites here. We likely won't see the same passing volume as we're used to with the Bengals, right? They've been down in a lot of games. But here's the thing. The Browns, they're the best in the league at one thing, just one thing: receptions to wide receivers. They have a solid secondary, led by Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit. Juan Thornhill is a solid safety over the top. Martin Emerson Jr. is questionable, but he was able to practice both on Thursday and Friday, so he should play. Now, T. Higgins against the Browns, 21 receptions for 315 yards. That sounds good, right? It's over 7 games. That's an average of 3 receptions for 45 yards. He's only had 6 receptions once in those 7 games against the Bengals, and it was exactly 6 in a game where the Browns won 41 to 16. So it was an obvious pass heavy game script for the Bengals as they were down by so many points. He also had 1 game with 5 receptions. Every other game has been less than that back in 2020. And it was a highly competitive, super high scoring game that ended 37 to 34 in the Browns' favor. He's also still dealing with a knee injury that has kind of hurt his production overall this season, causing him to miss practice on Thursday and was limited in Friday's practice. But with a guy like T. Higgins, veteran, makes sense that they'll rest him. He'll play, but it's clear he's not 100%. And in 2023, he was under this line in 10 of 12 games. In 2024, he was under this line in 5 of 9 games, but has been under in 4 of his last 5 games. He also rarely steps up in matchups like this. T. Higgins has failed to exceed 5.5 receptions in 6 of his last 7 games versus top 10 defenses for receptions allowed. He's averaging 4 receptions per game against teams that are in the top 10 against receptions allowed. There are so many signs here pointing to the under 5.5 receptions for T. Higgins not to take. Not a great history against the Browns. The Browns in general, especially this season, have been great in limiting receptions. It's probably a game script where the Bengals are up, so they're not really going to be needing to pass anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if T. Higgins even goes over his yard total. I just think 6 receptions is too many. So I took T. Higgins under 5.5 receptions at minus 120, put 1.2 units on that to win 1 unit. And hopefully we go 3-0 in the 1 p.m. slate and then go 4-0 for this 4:25 p.m. Eastern pick. This is more of a copy and paste pick. Remember Black Friday where we took Jacoby Myers over his receiving yards? We're going back to it, right? He exploded in that game where we took it. In the first play of the second quarter, he went over his line, finished with 6 receptions for 97 yards on 11 targets. And the reason it's a copy and paste play is due to the quarterback situation that the Raiders have with Aiden O'Connell back in and the type of defense that Jacksonville runs compared to the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's talk Aiden O'Connell because like we remember when we said last time, we just gave this pitch. Aiden O'Connell freaking loves Jacoby Myers. We saw it in full display against the Chiefs, right? He led the team in targets. But the issue is that O'Connell just hasn't started that many games and then ended them. So we don't have a ton of data here. However, when O'Connell is in, Myers leads the team in targets, even over Brock Bowers. The matchup also against the Jaguars lends itself to Myers having a more productive day with a quarterback that targets him all the time. Chiefs play man coverage at the 8th highest rate in the NFL, and they are around league average in man coverage rates, right? Those metrics. They do have Trent McDuffie, though, one of the NFL's best corners, but Myers had 0 issues getting open in that matchup. Now he gets the Jacksonville Jaguars, who play man coverage at the fourth highest rate in the NFL, but rank in the bottom three in almost every man coverage metric. They also have the worst secondary overall in the NFL by dropback EPA and are coming off a game where they allowed Devontae Adams to get nearly 200 yards. Myers leads Raiders wideouts in target rate against man at 25.4%, which is 5% higher than his target rate against zone coverage. And Myers has averaged 80 receiving yards over his last 6 games, and he has a quarterback again who targets him a ton. I'm late to the party on this one as the number rose from the opener of 60 yards, but I think it's going to keep rising. And realistically, I think that this line should be in the 70s. They're playing in Las Vegas, dome environment, so we don't have to worry about late season weather, right? We're all here for the holidays, especially on the East Coast, wherever you are at. You probably see all the snow. At Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, it's a dome, so we won't have any wind or anything like that, blowing balls out of the way of Jakobi Myers' enormous catch radius. I think Myers continues to dominate in a matchup made for him. And against the lowly Jags, don't be shocked to see triple digits for Jakobi Myers when this game is over. Give me Jakobi Myers over 65.5 receiving yards to win 1 unit. Those are my 4 best bets for NFL Week 16 Sunday action. Be sure to comment down below what you think of my picks and what you're on. And make sure to follow me on X, as I may add eventually to this card. Maybe a Sunday night football play, maybe some first touchdowns. And on BetMGM, they have that second chance where if your guy scores second, you get your money back. Another great reason to download BetMGM and use code JustGridiron. But regardless, if you don't follow me on Twitter, if you don't take any of these, I just hope that you appreciate the breakdowns, any of the analysis. Hopefully you use it for yourself. Maybe you fade it. Do whatever you want to do. But I appreciate you coming in and listening to me talk about NFL. It's really fun for me. So I appreciate it. And let's go 4-0 on Sunday. Why not us?